was it your second fight? You flew down to Brazil to fight Pele Lande, who's one of the top fighters in the world, absolute savage. I think you went there like by yourself or with like a friend.
Yeah, well, Nick Baumgar came with me. Nick came down with me.
That was such a war, dude. You ended up beating the crap out of him. You guys were just in Brazil.
That was
going
a good time.
there.
And it's funny because we'd heard all these crazy stories about Brazil. Well, the fans were great. I had a good time on them, but we walk out, we get in the ring, and we're doing this whole thing, and we separate, and the guy's still in the middle of it was it was like his like manager or whatever was the referee. Isn't that his manager? Was that his manager? Did they say that was his manager?
Crazy.
Like, don't worry about it. Okay, let's go. I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, a lot of people are scared to go to Brazil, but it never bothered me because the crowd's really aggressive. They'll like chant, "You will die," but I'm just like, whatever. You probably have the same mindset.
The funny thing, and the same thing, and I think a lot of it had to do the problems they were having down there with fights in the crowd and stuff like that, crazy stuff that you're hearing, was because it was this gym versus that gym, local gyms. Yeah. Out of town gyms, they really didn't have any animosity towards you as a fighter. That because you're not. It wasn't. Like, it wasn't. They didn't have that rivalry, local rivalry.
There was massive rivalry fighting.
They had more of a. I think it was more that local rivalry that was causing those kind of fights that were causing problems.
No, that's true.
Not the
they would like yell and chant against you, but I found Brazilians were actually treating me really good, and their culture, they'll never come in your personal space because they know you might punch them. We were talking about the videos I'd watched with you earlier. The thing I filmed for you, how guys are walking up with their hands down talking shit. Brazil, they'll never do that because their culture, they're going to fight you if you walk in that personal space talking crap.
That's if you have that. When it's okay,
they have that understanding.
You have an understanding. If you have that understanding with people, they don't have that comfort that you're not going to do that. That's not a surprise to them that when you hit them.
Yeah, so they'll yell from a distance, but they won't come in your personal. At least from my experience, they would never come in my personal space and be disrespectful because they understand, like culturally, that guy might punch me in the face.
Yeah, they know if they step in that, they're risking a fight.
Yeah, I don't think they like sue and stuff in Brazil. I think it's like, oh, you're fighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting culture. I mean, overall, I like Brazilians. I give them a lot of crap, and feuded with them a little bit.
But
overall,
that was a fun fight. That was a 30-minute round.
It's crazy. Was it a 30-minute round?
30-minute round.
That bare knuckle too. Bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle, and they had that net from the bottom of the rope to the end.
So you couldn't escape the.
Roll out the bottom. I had it, and at the end, I had him pinned underneath that. I'm
beating
the net.
I still remember that part. Bare knuckle, he's covered in blood, his head stuck in the net. That's such a good fight, Pele Lande. I remember in Japan, I would have Japanese fighters, they would slide under the ropes, and the Japanese refs would allow it. But if I tried it, they would give me a yellow card.
Yeah.
These fucking weasels.
Yeah.
Everyone acts like, oh, honorable Japan. I'm like, I don't know. They do some shady shit. You fought in Japan too, right?
Yeah, I fought out there. That was fun.
Yeah, that's wild too.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about it was better than I always laugh about the first time I fought over there in Pride. We go out there and they go for a piss test, right? Mm-hmm. And so I walk in this room and they hand me a cup, right? They say, "Yeah, I'm all okay. Where do you want me to piss?" Because usually in the U.S.,
they watch you. They literally watch your dick to make sure you're not cheating.
Watch you piss, right? So, but they go, go down that corner, take a right and a left. I'm figuring I'm gonna go down there. There's gonna be someone
there watching it.
Right?
Yeah.
I get in there, I pull it and go to the bathroom, there's no one there. I'm like, okay, so I fill up the cup, right? I'm bringing it back, and I'm like, okay, where did I put this? Oh, you signed it, you put the top on and signed it? Yeah, okay, just put it right there.
So it was a fake drug test.
I'm like, what the? Okay, all right, that's not it.
They were all so juiced out and pride.
Okay, they're just doing it for us.
Yeah, I guess
that's for show. I guess
so they could say they drug test. I guess.
That wasn't. Yeah, there was no. I could have had anybody be in that cup.
Yeah, and Pride was wild. It was like a real competitor with the UFC for a while. It was like Pride and UFC were like the two spectacular shows.
Yeah, it was awesome. But I think it was always better for the fans once you put it all under one umbrella. It's better for the fans.
No, I agree.
As a like having an NFL main thing for the.
If they had both, it'd be nice if they would do crossover fights, but then they would never agree to. I remember people wanted you and Anderson Silva to fight for so many years.
Vanderlei.
Not Anderson. I messed it up. You and Vanderlei.
And then we wound up fighting a lot later, but it would have been nicer when we were both.
Because you fought in your prime. You still got to fight though, at least.
And we would have got to fight for 5-round fight, and it would have been cool.
No, because that was a fight the fans wanted for so many years. It's funny. I was actually.
Yeah, but there was always the argument. Then you have an argument. There's always an argument of who was the best at each weight, because there's two organizations that were considered equal. Almost.
Mm-hmm.
It was like some people thought this was better, some thought that was better, and then, but you know, once you combine them now we can find out.
You can actually see,
world champion.
Yeah, it just, I mean, the good part about other shows is, you know, paying things, but no other shows are hitting right now. Like PFL pays well, but they just haven't been able to build any hype, which kind of sucks. Like I have a fighter, Apache Mix, 35-pounder. He's so good, but he doesn't get the hype he deserves, and it sucks seeing that. You know, they pay him well, but
I'm not sure what the answer is for that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so it's so hard not being in the UFC. You know, so if you're not in the UFC, you're just not getting the hype. So it's one of those situations that it gets tricky. Yeah. So, do you watch much fighting nowadays, or not really?
I still love watching fighting. I mean, people ask me, watch all the UFC. Well,
there's so many.
There's so many and so many fights, and I don't have only so much time. But yeah, I still like watching fights. I enjoy fighting. I always will. You know, but you know, and you know, it's when I have time, I watch the fight. So
yeah, no, for a while I kind of took a break, but I'm starting to watch it again, and it's way more fun when you learn the fighters. So I didn't know who most of the new fighters were anymore. I remember going like training Sean Strickland. I had no idea who he was. I'm like, this guy's pretty good, and he's running his mouth. And I'm like, should I fight this guy? Or then I'm like, oh, I like this guy after all. I forgot to know him. Just like, like, oh, then I look him up, like, oh, this is one of the top guys.
But yeah, it's good. That's what people ask me. Like they'll ask me, hey man, who do you think's gonna win in this fight? I'm like, well, I really haven't watched that guy that much. And then when I watched him, I wasn't really because I watch fights different. I have two ways to watch the fights. I watch fights for fun. Yeah. And I watch fights to break someone down.
It's totally different. I agree.
Yeah. If you want me to break down a fight, I've got to watch 3 fights of this guy and the last 3 fights of this guy, the last 3 fights of this guy. I'll look at him and I can give you a general idea I can give an idea who I think will win. And I think it's not like back in the day when I knew everybody and I watched all their fights and I've seen all their fights and I've actually trained with the guys that train them, or I trained with them before. And then I was I could pretty much give you I'd be probably 9 out of 10 pick each fight, But then the one I lost usually was a heart bet. Was someone I really liked was fighting. I thought he had a better chance than he did.
Yeah, no, it's way harder to bet now because you have to really pay attention to every fighter, you know. So unless I actually know someone well and who both of them are fighting, like I said, I bet on Marab. That was a tough fight, but I've watched him train so much. I know he has that extra gear he can kick into, and I knew it'd be a tough fight. But I'm like, I think he can pull this off. He was a big underdog,
awesome,
but it was so cool back in the day. There wasn't very many UFCs, and it was like such an ordeal. Everyone would like gather up and be like, you'd know every single fighter. Yeah. So it was obviously it's better now with all the money and fame, like President Trump there. But there was something magical about the days when we were fighting, when it was just like
it was really cool. But sports great, and it keeps getting better.
Well, yeah, it's definitely way better now. But I do like how like tough everyone used to be, because everyone that fought back then was like crazy.
We had a lot more fighters.
Yeah, it was different, but overall it's definitely better now, guys. The fame, the money, and everything. It's like I tell people, like we were just trying to figure out how to mix it together and train it, right? And then now they're coming in and they're learning it from as a kid. They learn mixed martial arts from the start. Yeah, because I came from wrestling. You came from wrestling and karate, and
well, you came from one of the advantages I had in the beginning was I came with 2 of the disciplines and just had to learn one.
Yeah, no, that's true. That was a huge. Yeah, almost everyone else had one discipline. You already had 2.
And I already had 2, so it was a real good. It was a real advantage to me, like, and being able to kind of control where that fight was fought and doing those things. So,
is there any like favorite fighters you have nowadays, or just?
I like Poirier. Like he's training with so I like him. And he's so relaxed, so calm. He's a good dude. I like the way his attitude, and I like the way he fights.
Yeah, I hung out with him with Glover one day. His English obviously isn't that great, but you could tell he's a little like, he seems really intimidating, but then after hanging out with him a little while, you can tell he's like, oh, he's actually really friendly and nice.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. You know, but I like a lot of fighters like out there. There's a lot of tough guys out there. And there's a a lot of fun fights to watch.
Yeah, that Strickland Duplessis, that'll be a good fight because I like both of those guys. That's going to be a good one at 85.
Yeah,
It's coming up soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That's an exciting fight.
Yeah, that's a hard one to pick. I mean, the last one was basically dead even.
Yeah, I had Strickland last time. Actually, and I like like you said, I like both of them too. So I don't feel like I was biased at all.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we watch a friend's fight, like when we watch a friend's fight live,
He won.
I feel like he won, and I go back and watch it. Oh well, okay, I can see how he lost that.
It would suck to be a judge of some of these close fights. Sometimes you see a fight and like, ooh, that was close. Like the Strickland fight you just mentioned. I wouldn't want to be a judge of that fight because I remember watching it and I was unsure who won. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I was paying close enough attention to want to judge this.
Yeah, well, I think as a judge, you have to pay attention to each round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing. And people try to
judge each round,
and people try to, but it's hard to like blank out the last round.
Yeah.
Just judge this round.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of those things like like even like when he beat Adesanya. If he hadn't dropped him in the first round, he might not have won that fight.
No, that's true. These fights are close.
He might not have won that fight because just because of how hard they make it to. Sometimes they get these judges in their head that the guy they think is going to win.
Oh yeah, sometimes just thinking someone's going to win. Yeah,
he's going to win. He wins that for close win by the other person's in the first round. Instead, gives it to that one. And if you have a couple close rounds, early rounds that are close, and they're given the wrong way, then you could lose a fight that you should have won.